Those results, I know they're draws, but when you're not beating Leeds, you're not beating Fulham, you're not beating Burnley. The Arsenal performance was a good one, but that tells you there's big problems at hand.
This Liverpool squad is supposed to be overwhelming. It was supposed to be the start of an era. The reigning champions, a manager who walked into the Premier League and won it at the first attempt. A summer window that rewired the squad with record signings, elite creators and explosive fullbacks. And yet here's the reality staring us in the face. 5 Premier League games without a win. 4 points from 15, 3 stoppage time winners conceded, and a title defence that has quietly unravelled. They've gone from Europe's longest unbeaten run to being dragged into chaos every weekend. They concede from throw-ins. They lose control after equalising. They fade when matches demand authority, not energy. You're watching Virgil van Dijk make errors you almost never associate with him. Mohamed Salah returning, but rhythm missing. Dominic Szoboszlai dragging the attack forward almost on his own.
All the way through where it's hit. Oh, what a strike! Dominic Szoboszlai!
And a manager, Arne Slot, admitting publicly that his players are running on empty.
It's also fair to say that I could see my players mainly have to use the same one constantly. We're tired.
This doesn't look like a bad team. It looks like a super team under strain. Fatigue multiplying flaws, structure breaking late, creativity narrowing, and a squad that looks far deeper on paper than it does when the game is on the line. So how did Liverpool go from dominant champions to a team that can't close games? Why do they control matches but not outcomes? And what exactly is failing beneath the surface? Liverpool didn't enter the 2025/26 season as a normal defending champion. They entered as the club that had just pulled off one of the rarest, most impressive feats in modern football. A brand new head coach arriving and winning the Premier League title immediately in his first season. Arne Slot inherited Jurgen Klopp's squad and, in his debut league campaign, refined it just enough to turn continuity into outright dominance. Liverpool finished 2024/25 on 84 points, a comfortable 10 points clear of Arsenal, lifting the club's 20th top-flight title. That achievement mattered far beyond just the trophy itself. When a manager wins instantly like that, the entire conversation changes. You're no longer talking about a rebuild or a transition period, you're talking about what feels like the start of a genuine era. And Liverpool's actions that following summer made it crystal clear they believed exactly the same thing. The transfer window opened with genuine symbolism. Trent Alexander-Arnold left for Real Madrid on a long-term deal. That wasn't just a tactical loss on the pitch, it was the departure of a club identity figure, a player who had become completely synonymous with Liverpool's modern style and success. Liverpool's response was immediate and aggressively ambitious. They rebuilt the flanks like a team preparing to overwhelm opponents for years to come, not just for one more season. Jeremy Frimpong arrived from Bayer Leverkusen after Liverpool triggered his €35 million release clause, adding relentless pace, attacking verticality, and genuine end product from the right-back position. Milos Kerkez followed from Bournemouth, a high-intensity left-back specifically designed to keep Liverpool's wide pressure constant and suffocating, rather than just rotational. Then came the absolute headline move. Florian Wirtz, signed from Leverkusen in a deal reported at £116 million, including add-ons. A world-class creative hub brought in not to simply complement the existing team, but to fundamentally redefine it. In attack, Liverpool doubled down yet again. They added Hugo Ekitike as a flexible forward profile who could play multiple roles, and then, late in the window, completed a genuine blockbuster move for Alexander Isak, a deal widely discussed as both a British record and a club record level signing. Put all those names together, Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz, Ekitike, Isak, and you immediately understand why the rest of the league's reaction bordered on genuine anxiety. Liverpool weren't behaving like champions who thought they'd peaked and should consolidate. They were behaving like champions preparing to become a long-term, sustained problem for everyone else. On paper, it looked absolutely terrifying, and crucially, they started the season playing like it too. Liverpool's early league run was calm, efficient, and quietly ruthless in its effectiveness. August 15th, Liverpool 4-2 Bournemouth, August 25th, Newcastle 2-3, Liverpool August 31st, Liverpool 1-0 Arsenal. That Arsenal win mattered far beyond the simple scoreline. It was the psychological stamp of authority, champions beating their closest rival early in the season, reinforcing the clear idea that the previous campaign was absolutely not a one-off fluke. Liverpool were winning even without fully clicking into top gear, which is usually the most dangerous phase of any title-defending side. At this point, the fear and concern around the league wasn't exaggerated or overblown. Liverpool had a title-winning manager who'd proven himself immediately, a squad that looked deeper, faster and more tactically flexible than ever, and results that completely validated all the hype. The momentum carried smoothly into September. September 14th, Burnley 0-1 Liverpool. September 20th, Liverpool 2-1 Everton. Add in Europe and the domestic cups. September 17th in the Champions League, Liverpool 3-2 Atletico Madrid. September the 23rd, the EFL Cup, Liverpool 2-1 Southampton. From August 15th all the way through September the 23rd, Liverpool went on an impressive 7-game winning streak across all competitions. This was genuinely the phase where the whole super team narrative felt completely justified. Every fixture looked manageable, every competition felt wide open, and Isak's arrival on September 1st only amplified the growing sense that Liverpool were just loading advantages on top of advantages. Then came the pivot point. September 27th. Crystal Palace 2-1 Liverpool. September 30th in the Champions League, Galatasaray 1-0 Liverpool. 2 defeats in just 4 days. Not absolutely catastrophic on their own, but definitely enough to introduce genuine doubt, especially in matches away from Anfield. For the first time all season, Liverpool looked actually disruptible. October is where the season begins to fracture into 2 completely different versions of Liverpool. In Europe, they still looked absolutely devastating. October the 22nd, Champions League. Eintracht Frankfurt 1-5 Liverpool. But domestically, the results started telling a very different, more concerning story. October 4th, Chelsea 2-1 Liverpool. October 19th, Liverpool 1-2 Manchester United. October the 25th, Brentford 3-2 Liverpool. Then came what felt like a symbolic blow. October 29th, Liverpool 0-3 Crystal Palace EFL Cup. Heavy cup defeats matter more than people think because they accelerate internal questions about squad rotation, intensity levels, focus, and genuine buy-in from players. They don't just knock you out of competitions, they actively alter moods and create doubt. November is where vague concern turned into serious public conversation. November 9th, Manchester City 3-0 Liverpool. November the 22nd, Liverpool 0-3 Nottingham Forest. November the 26th, Champions League, Liverpool 1-4 PSV Eindhoven. These weren't narrow, unlucky losses you could explain away. They were genuine alarm bells. Performances collapsed in clusters, and publicly Slot acknowledged the severity of the moment without trying to hide it. Reporting at the time described the atmosphere inside the club as genuinely tense, with senior voices privately admitting that Liverpool were in a mess. You don't need leaked dressing room rows or anonymous quotes to understand what that kind of collapse does to a squad. When results fall apart that sharply and that publicly, team selection becomes political, fitness gets questioned constantly, confidence fractures across the group, and leadership comes under intense pressure. December brought noticeable improvement, but not actual closure or certainty. December 3rd, Liverpool 1-1 Sunderland. December 6th, Leeds 3-3 Liverpool. December 13th, Liverpool 2-0 Brighton. December 20th, Tottenham 1-2 Liverpool. December 27th, Liverpool 2-1 Wolves. In Europe, Liverpool once again showed their absolute ceiling. December 9th, Champions League, Inter 0-1 Liverpool. The league table stabilised, confidence gradually returned, but with the benefit of hindsight, this was careful management rather than genuine mastery. The recovery was real, but it felt fragile underneath. January is where the illusion finally completely breaks. January 1st, Liverpool 0-0 Leeds. January 4th, Fulham 2-2 Liverpool. January 8th, Arsenal 0-0 Liverpool. January 17th, Liverpool 1-1 Burnley, and then January 24th, Bournemouth 3-2 Liverpool. That's 5 consecutive league games without a single win, ending with an absolutely devastating 95th minute defeat that somehow encapsulates the entire season. Liverpool go 2-0 down early, fight back admirably to level it at 2-2, then concede late again, while Slot speaks openly afterwards about fatigue and players genuinely running out of energy. The league table now tells the uncomfortable truth. 7 league defeats, 4th place, sitting 14 points behind Arsenal at the top. Liverpool didn't start failing because the squad suddenly isn't good enough. They started failing because a title-winning machine tried to evolve into a dynasty overnight and ran straight into volatility they weren't prepared for. tactical adaptation that didn't quite work, intensity management that failed, heavy defeats that fundamentally shifted the mood and confidence, and a league campaign where control kept slipping away at exactly the moments it mattered most. The talent is absolutely real. The investment is absolutely real. The peaks, like that 5-1 demolition of Frankfurt, are absolutely real. But the season has become this exhausting cycle of brilliant stretches followed by sudden collapses and recurring late-game chaos that keeps undermining everything. And that reality is the foundation for everything that comes next in this story. This explains why it keeps ending the same frustrating way, over and over again, because Liverpool aren't losing matches like a team that gets completely outplayed for 90 minutes. They're losing matches like a team that just can't consistently control the final 10 to 15 minutes, exactly when structure, discipline, and organisation matter so much more than raw talent. And the evidence is now far too consistent to just ignore or write off as bad luck. The Bournemouth match is the absolute cleanest snapshot of Liverpool's late-game problem you could possibly ask for. They go 2-0 down early, fight back admirably to rescue it and make it 2-2, and then somehow still concede a devastating 95th minute winner anyway. The winning goal comes from a long throw into the box, followed by a messy scramble, exactly the kind of second-phase chaos that elite teams are supposed to prevent almost automatically. Match analysis adds the crucial framing that makes this even harder to dismiss. Liverpool have now conceded a 90-minute winner for the third time in the Premier League this season alone, their most ever in a single Premier League campaign. They're also currently winless in 5 consecutive league matches, 4 draws, 1 loss, their longest such run since all the way back in January 2021. So this genuinely isn't just one freak throw-in that got unlucky. This is Liverpool repeatedly reaching the decisive, pressure-filled stage of matches and consistently failing to close them out properly. The really revealing moment at Bournemouth isn't actually just the long throw itself. It's what happens in the minutes before the long throw. Liverpool equalised to make it 2-2, and instead of immediately stabilising the game, slowing everything down, holding territory intelligently, turning it into stoppages and safe controlled possessions, Bournemouth are somehow still getting repeated opportunities to attack Liverpool's box in those final minutes. This is exactly where super teams often fail in practice. They assume their superior quality will just naturally carry them through, so they keep aggressively chasing the third goal, keep playing forward too early, keep taking unnecessary transition risks until the entire match becomes a chaotic, open contest. And chaotic, open contests get decided by completely different factors. Second balls and who wins them, throw-ins and corners, set-piece phases, and one single half-second of hesitation or miscommunication. Exactly the areas where Liverpool are currently leaking goals repeatedly. Rest defense is basically the insurance policy behind any attacking team. The spacing, coverage, and clearly defined roles that protect you when possession gets lost, and the opponent can play the next pass quickly. When Liverpool are fresh and sharp, their rest defense looks genuinely coherent and organized. When Liverpool are tired and running on fumes, it doesn't collapse dramatically all at once. It just gradually stretches. The midfield screen becomes a crucial step late to challenges. Centre-backs get dragged into physical duels they really shouldn't be taking. Full-backs stop arriving early enough to properly defend the dangerous far post space. And clearances become panicked and desperate rather than calm and purposeful. That gradual stretch is exactly how chaos goals happen in practice. Not because Liverpool suddenly have no defenders on the pitch, but because they're arriving into defensive moments only half organised, half a second late. You can actually hear Slot indirectly describing that exact reality when he talks about players running out of energy, and points to the cumulative, exhausting effect of having to use the same core group of players repeatedly across an absolutely brutal schedule. Bournemouth is a perfect example of how this plays out. Liverpool have to reshuffle their defence after Gomez picks up an injury. They're chasing the game for most of the match. They equalise late and the emotions are high. And then the final phase becomes a pure stamina and organisation test under intense pressure. Bournemouth win that test, Liverpool don't. This isn't an opinion section or a feeling. Liverpool's set-piece vulnerability is completely measurable, and it's genuinely one of the most damaging traits any title-defending team can possibly have. Season analysis from the Bournemouth match includes an absolutely stunning line. Only Bournemouth themselves, with 17, have conceded more set-piece goals excluding penalties than Liverpool, 14 in the Premier League this season. And the deeper statistical breakdown somehow gets even worse. Detailed reporting shows Liverpool have conceded 7 goals directly from corners in the league. Only West Ham have conceded more. Liverpool have also conceded 3 times from throw-ins, which is joint most in the entire league. Coverage quotes Slot describing the set-piece record as so shockingly poor that it should be impossible to even be a top 4 side with those numbers, citing that Liverpool had scored just 3 set-piece goals while conceding 11 at that specific point in the season. Now connect that reality back to Bournemouth again. The match-winning goal comes from a throw-in. Of course it does. This is exactly why the late collapse conversation keeps circling back to the same fundamental place. Liverpool aren't just conceding late in matches. Liverpool are conceding late in the most preventable, most frustrating ways imaginable. Corner phases that should be routine. Throw-ins that elite teams defend in their sleep. Second balls, box scrambles. Those aren't genius tactical moments from brilliant opponents. They're organisational moments that Liverpool keep consistently losing. There's one final twist that makes this entire story even sharper and more painful. Early in the season, Liverpool were absolutely the kings of late winners. Coverage wrote enthusiastically about slot time back in September. Liverpool won their first 4 league matches with crucial goals scored after the 81st minute. A genuine Premier League first. That's actually really important context because it shows Liverpool already had a clear pattern from the very start, games being decided late. The critical difference is that early season Liverpool were fresher, more confident, and significantly more stable defensively. Now late game football has somehow turned into the exact place where all their flaws get brutally exposed and punished. And league-wide analysis has noted that 2025/26 has produced more stoppage time winners than normal seasons, meaning late game execution has become even more decisive and critical across the entire division. So Liverpool are essentially being hit by 2 powerful forces simultaneously: their own structural weakness and fatigue-driven late game vulnerability, and a league-wide season trend where late winners are more common than usual, meaning there's even less margin for error in those sloppy final phases. Liverpool's problem isn't that they can't compete, it's that they can't consistently finish. And in a title race where margins are ruthless and Arsenal barely give anything away, that's becoming the difference between challenging and just surviving in the top 4. Liverpool's biggest attacking problem right now isn't a lack of talent, it's where all the solutions are actually coming from. Against Bournemouth, the player ratings tell the story incredibly clearly. Dominic Szoboszlai, 8.6, was Liverpool's best player by a significant distance. A vicious corner delivery that led directly to a goal. A superb free kick that created another. 2 moments of absolutely elite execution that single-handedly dragged Liverpool back into a game they were genuinely losing. But here's the uncomfortable issue hiding underneath those brilliant moments. Both of his decisive contributions came from dead ball situations, not from sustained, fluid open play. And that's become the worrying pattern. Szoboszlai is currently functioning as Liverpool's emergency generator, their go-to solution when nothing else is working. When games completely stall and go flat, he provides direct threat from nowhere. When the team's structure breaks down, he forces individual moments through sheer quality. When rhythm and flow completely disappear, he just bypasses it with set-piece magic. But that reality also reveals the deeper problem. Liverpool are increasingly relying on individual brilliance and execution, rather than genuine collective creation and teamwork. And no single player can solve that alone, no matter how talented. Open play is exactly where Liverpool look genuinely blunt and toothless right now. Florian Wirtz, 7.1, often found nice pockets of space and looked like the most inventive player between the lines, showing flashes of real creativity, but he consistently lacked any meaningful end product support around him. He receives the ball cleanly, turns well, scans for options, and then finds very limited movement ahead of him to actually work with. Up front, the picture gets even more concerning. Mohamed Salah, 7.1, looked noticeably rusty, undersharp, and disconnected from the team on his first league start since all the way back in in November. You could see he wasn't quite at full speed. Cody Gakpo, 6.4, was genuinely ineffective as a reference point up top, offering very little physical presence or intelligent movement between the opposition centre-backs. The midfield behind them didn't really compensate for those struggles either. Alexis Mac Allister, 6.5, was unusually quiet and withdrawn, especially early in the match when Liverpool needed control. Ryan Gravenberch, 6.9, carried the ball forward well in moments, but he didn't truly control the overall tempo or manage to unlock those deep defensive blocks. So Liverpool's open play attacks became frustratingly readable and predictable. Wide circulation around the edges without penetration. Early crosses into the box without anyone actually dominating that space. Shots that felt forced and desperate rather than naturally created through good build-up. When Szoboszlai isn't producing individual magic from set pieces, the entire attack often just stalls completely. This is exactly why Liverpool can dominate entire phases of matches, but somehow not dominate the actual outcomes and results. They have genuine creators in the squad, but no stable attacking rhythm that you can rely on. They have real threats and dangerous players, but far too few coordinated movements and patterns that opponents have to worry about. They have brilliant individual moments, but nowhere near enough sustained pressure built through patient, collective, open play. That's precisely how you end up desperately rescuing games through set pieces and individual quality. And then somehow still losing them late anyway because you never truly controlled the match. Liverpool aren't failing because the squad is weak or lacking in talent. The quality is obviously there. They're failing because too much of the burden, the control, the creativity, the momentum is falling on far too few players, and it's all happening far too late in games when everyone's exhausted. Until open play becomes genuinely collective again, built on patterns and teamwork rather than just improvised individual brilliance, this painful cycle is going to continue repeating itself. And here's the scary part that makes it all worse. This team is absolutely good enough to fix all of this. The pieces are there, which somehow makes every single collapse, every late concession, every drop point hurt even more than it should. Because you know, and they know, that it shouldn't be this way.